In today's video, I'm going to give you a little bit of hypnosis secrets that you can start using right now to be able to hypnotize people when you talk to them. Now, guys, you have to promise me that you're going to use this ethically because this stuff is really, really powerful. So the first one is what we call quoting. You see, often when we are directing our words, our perspective, how we think at somebody, often the gatekeeper will come up. And the gatekeeper is what we call the critical faculty in hypnosis terms. So we have our conscious mind, which is our logical mind. We have the subconscious mind, which is where all of our beliefs are. And then we have the critical faculty. So the critical faculty will determine whether or not the information that it's receiving, it will allow it to be sunk into the subconscious. So when you're telling somebody advice or how you think they should think or how you think, often that little gatekeeper will come up and it will not allow the information through. So one powerful way to do it is what we call quoting. So quoting is telling a story or quoting somebody else about the information that you are conveying to them, right? So it's like, hey, did you know that so-and-so said this? Or the other day I was talking to a person and they told me that. So what ends up happening is because you are not directly telling them what to think, how to think, what your perspective is, their mind is more receptive to your suggestions. Now, there's another deeper layer to this, which is called triple quoting. So triple quoting is really, really powerful, and essentially you're quoting 3 levels. So it's kind of like this. I'm just going to make something up off the top of my head. So the other day I was listening to a YouTube video, and this guy was talking about how his brother's sister's neighbor was telling them to focus on what I'm saying right now and open your mind. Now, come back to the room, come out of trance, hit the like button if you just if your mind just kind of triggered there for a second. You're like, wait, what the hell did he just say? Hit that like button if it did. So here's what happened. If I quote 3 or 4 layers of people, what did I say? The other day I was listening to a YouTube video and this guy was talking about his girlfriend's neighbor, okay? What ends up happening is it starts to confuse the conscious mind, and the conscious mind starts to check out. And when our conscious mind checks out, we automatically go into trance. So by triple or even quadruple quoting, you will instantly put people in trance, and then you can tell the story. Now, again, you want to use this ethically. You don't want to just make stuff up just to say stuff to people, because then that's not being authentic. But what you can do is you can think of times where there was somebody that told you something about somebody else, about something else that relates to whatever it is that you're saying. So come up, think of your own true, real versions of this, your real stories where somebody's told you about somebody else and something. It could also be a book that you read. It could be a video that you watch. This is a very, very powerful tool. And again, once you have them in that trance, that's when you can start to sink in the suggestions. Now, some people will use this to manipulate people. Some people will use this to empower people. So one thing you can do is say, you triple quote, right? Hey, the other day I was talking to this guy that worked for me, and he told me his mom's business partner said that when you really just work hard and focus on what you're doing, you can be extremely successful at anything you put your mind to, right? So what I just did there is I triple quoted. I told you a suggestion that's going to empower you to go out and create success for yourself, right? Now, some guys will use this stuff to like get laid, right? That's not what we want to use this for. We want to use this ethically. So now the third thing I want to share with you is what's called metaphors. So metaphors are stories. There's another word for it I can't think off the top of my head. A metaphor, it'll come to me here in a second. So metaphors is taking something and comparing and giving a different perspective on whatever it is you're sharing with the person and getting them to see it from a different lens, right? A new way, kind of a comparison like, oh, I never really thought about that. So I'll give you a metaphor that I love to share with people. One of the things that happens with people in life is they go through like a traumatic event and it starts off, it gives them, a breakup, somebody passing away, a business failure. And typically people, to kind of get rid of that, is they stuff it down. So they don't want to think about it. They'll drink, they'll smoke, they'll try to distract their mind. And then before you know it, it gets worse and worse and worse. And then again, before you know it, their life is in shambles, right? And so I want you to imagine, here's the metaphor, that you have mold in your house, right? And it's like just a little spot of mold, and you ignore it. You're like, I don't want to think about the mold. I don't want to deal with it. I'm going to pretend like that room doesn't even exist. And you never go into that door. Well, what's going to end up happening with that room? Before you know it, the mold's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and the entire room is going to be destroyed. And if you wait too long, it can destroy your entire house, right? So at some point, you have to open the door and you have to say, you know what? I have mold. It's time to deal with the mold. Because if you just keep ignoring it, it's not going to get any better. It's actually going to get worse. Now, that's a metaphor for how these traumatic events grow and grow and grow, and they can ruin our mind, right? Now, I would go even further and say, now look, once you decide to deal with the mold, there's a couple ways you can do it. You could read a book on how to deal with the mold and do it yourself. I don't think that's a good idea. You could watch a YouTube video, do a little bit more research. That's better than reading a book, but I don't know if I would do that, right? Or you can hire somebody who knows how to remove the mold professionally. They've done it thousands and thousands of times, and they'll remove the mold for you. Now, you can even go a step further. If you decide, you know what, this mold keeps coming up so much, let me learn. It's like the guy came in, he helped me clean out the mold, but then another part of the house got mold, right? Because that's what it is, right? These things naturally happen. So rather than me having to call somebody every time I have the mold in my mind, I can just learn how to remove the mold, right? And then I can go a step further. Once I learn how to remove my own mold, I can start helping others remove their mold, right? So what did I just give you a metaphor for? This is what happens with many people. They have the mold, they're cheap, and they go, okay, I'm gonna try to fix this myself. Let me read a book. Let me watch a video. And then let me watch a podcast. A podcast is gonna change my life. And they go years, months and years trying these methods of doing it on your own and reading books, and it's okay, it'll give you some learnings, but the fastest, most effective way to guarantee your results is you have somebody help you, right? So if you have traumas, you don't try to fix your own trauma, you hire somebody else that knows what they're doing, or your limiting beliefs or your fears, and they'll help you overcome those fears, right? And then if you want to go a step further and go, hey, how can I learn how to do this so that I don't have to hire anybody, is you learn how to do that process. And then once you learn how to do that process, you may decide, you know what, I want to help other people with this. Does that make sense? So with that being said, for those of you who realize, you know what, I do have mold in my mind and I'm ready to get rid of it. And I don't want to read books anymore. I don't want to listen to podcasts on how to deal with my mold, because I might go in the mold and I might get sick. I don't have the proper equipment. I don't cut it out properly. I don't put it, whatever. Okay. If that's you, you're like, Dom, I need to remove the mold from my mind. Here's what you're going to do. If you're a business owner, go down in the description and book a free assessment with my team so we can do a deep dive to figure out how we can remove that mold so that you can actually enjoy the house that you live in. Secondly, if you're somebody who's like, Dom, I would love to learn how to remove my own mold or remove others, aka you want to learn hypnosis for yourself, you have a team of people, you want to be able to help them clear out their mold so your entire team could be dialed in, or maybe you want to do this as a business, there's going to be a free hypnosis training down in the description. Go ahead and click on it and get access to the free hypnosis training. All right, guys, so hopefully that helped today. Again, use your metaphors, use your quoting, your triple quoting, and you will be a very powerful, powerful hypnotist. See you next time.